Today's episode is brought to you by 4R Construction in Rosette, Wyoming. Hello, and welcome to Brassy Business Podcast, where we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly with business owners and what they have done to make their businesses shine. I am your host, Haley Ruff, and let's talk business. So now that I've been doing the podcast for a few episodes now, I'm going to add in a little Haley time. So you are going to get to know a little bit more about me every week, bit by bit. So I'm going to give you just a little life update. So here it goes. So I am recording this on April 3rd, and tomorrow is my birthday. So by the time this releases, my birthday will be gone. But I've always been somebody that absolutely loves my birthday. Like, I wake up and the day should be all about me and everything should just go perfectly for me. I know that it doesn't always happen, but in my world, that's the way it should be. So we'll see how tomorrow goes. But this is the first year that I can think of in a long time that there's not like something I specifically want. Like, my husband asked me what he wanted, and my answer was I wanted him to put the backsplash on the kitchen walls. That was it. That's all that I wanted. So I'll give you an update next week as to how it went. So, with that, let's jump into this week's episode. Also, if you would take some time, share this podcast with a friend, give us a review, shout us out on social media, I would truly appreciate it. This is a brand new venture. I would say the algorithms of social media channels has changed a little bit since the last time I started a business. So I will take all the help that I can get. Shout us out, refer us to a friend, send it to somebody, give us a 5-star review. I will take anything at this point to help me grow. So please and thank you. Now, on to the episode. This week, we are talking with a individual, and they created a product and then they built a business around that product. And I am so excited to jump into this because it's so cool to hear how this all came out and just the whole story of going in and manufacturing a product. So, this week and today, I am talking with Billie Asmus, the owner and creator of Repaint Studios from Hampton, Iowa. So here goes nothing. So today I am talking with Billie Asmus of Repaint Studios out of Hampton, Iowa. Welcome to the show, Billie.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, me too. So it's the first time I've had anybody from Iowa. So I'm excited to like expand on the map. So that's awesome. Can you just take a minute, introduce your business, tell us where you're from, all them good details?
Yeah. So, like I said, I'm Billie Asmus and I'm from Hampton, Iowa. And my business or my company is Repaint Studios. And I created and invented a reusable and eco friendly paint tray liner and lid. And I've been working on it for the last 3 years and just recently launched it into existence. So, that's been really exciting.
Yeah, I bet. So how did this all start? How did it like come to life? Because this had to have been like a big project to come up with the idea, launch the product, all the things.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to actually have a small business before this where I was refinishing and restoring furniture. And 9 times out of 10, I would have a client that would ask me to paint their furniture. And I was trying to stay home with my daughter at the time, and it was not realistic for me to do painting projects, in between nap time or lunchtime or whatever it needed to be without my paint drying out or my roller or my brush paint or my paintbrush drying out. And I just did not have a good way of saving my paint. And so I was constantly going through these plastic paint tray liners, and I just kept thinking, like, this is not sustainable. I really need to find something that is reusable and that has a lid so I can save my paint and come back to it. And I basically did a Google search and an Amazon search and realized nothing was showing up. So I was like, okay, does this honestly not exist? Because number one, that's shocking. And
Right?
two, then I realized, okay, I have this opportunity that I felt like just kind of landed into my lap. And it was kind of from there that I decided to pursue it and just see what was going to happen.
Ugh, that's crazy. So walk us through the process of like how did you even start this? Like how did you go about the creating of the product? Like what materials to use?
Well, I am avid with DIY. Like, I'm constantly doing a DIY project. I probably have like 10 going right now. So, I knew from previous painting projects that paint does not adhere to silicone. And I figured, okay, if it doesn't adhere to silicone, why can't I make that on a larger scale and be able to actually pour my paint on it and use it and then just remove it when it's dried? And so I created my very first prototype or my mold out of foam board from the dollar store. And I used a plastic paint tray liner and I hot glued it upside down. Then I ordered silicone from a prop shop out of Texas that makes silicone props for movies.
Oh, cool.
And I just learned from there. I mixed the silicone and I poured my first prototype and just did some testing with different paints. And sure enough, it worked. And from there, it was kind of like I was stuck. I just really didn't know what to do or who to talk to because it validated myself that it worked. But then I'm like, okay, cool, it works, but now what do I do? And so I actually found a local community college that does a entrepreneurship course over a semester. And so I decided to enroll in that. And there I was able to conduct like hundreds and hundreds of interviewers with other painters and DIYers to see if they were struggling with some of the same things when it came to painting or some of the same frustrations. And sure enough, like pretty much everybody agreed, like, yes, it's very frustrating going through these plastic paint tray liners, not being able to save my paint. And they really wanted a solution. And so from there, it was just a lot of doing pitch competitions and interviewing people and talking to potential investors and business partners just to get my foot in the door with other people, just to see who they knew and see how I could start manufacturing. Because that was the other tough thing is I wanted to figure out how am I going to be able to protect myself in this process because I don't want somebody to take this idea and run with it and I don't have a winning chance at all at that point because if somebody's going to have way more money than me to take it to market faster then there's no chance of me actually doing this. So it took me an entire year of just interviewing people and talking to people just to see what to do next. And that was the hardest part until I finally had met my business partners.
Oh, that's crazy. I am like seriously impressed that you made the mold all by yourself. That like you didn't have to ask for help on that part. Like that is so awesome. That's so freaking cool.
Yeah, it's a hard process because I mean, I had no knowledge of silicone before when I had started, and it was just a complete guessing game. And of course, nothing like this has ever existed before, so there's no resources that I could turn to. It was just some basic YouTube videos that I could possibly find, or talking to that silicone prop shop to see what kind of information they could give me just about silicone in general. But luckily, as I was further along in the process and that community college I was connected with, I was able to work with their engineering department and their students. And so there they actually were able to help create a CAD file or like a 3D design for
Okay.
me to actually be able to manufacture this and give like an idea to manufacturers of what it was going to look like and cost to manufacture.
Oh, cool. Wow. So the community college kind of played a big role in helping you get all the right connections and everything.
Oh, for sure.
Ugh.
Yes. And all their resources were for free.
Oh, even better. That's amazing.
Yes.
So, in the process of creating the product and finding a manufacturer and whatnot, what was your biggest struggle or the biggest thing you had to overcome?
I think one of the biggest things would be one, sticking to my guns and saying that I actually know what I'm doing. And even though I'm learning in the process, you have to act like you know what you're doing because it's a very male dominated industry. Every single manufacturer and business partner I had talked to were all males. And it was really, really hard for me to not kind of, give up or kind of coil in and say, like, no, no, I can't do this. It was trying to put myself in like a CEO position saying like no I can't do this and I do have the power and the ability to make these decisions and make this stuff happen. But I would say yeah that was really hard, especially in that first year where I didn't know who to talk to or who I could trust in this process and just needing to make very careful decisions along the way.
Not letting them push you around and stand your guns, definitely. Yeah, I bet that wasn't easy, especially, like, as a woman, sometimes we feel like, well, maybe they do know what they're talking about when you're like, "Hmm, well, maybe you don't actually this time." So, yeah, and you kinda touched on this to begin with, but coming into this industry, creating a brand new product that's never been seen before, you had to have the fear that, hey, somebody might swoop in and take this design and replicate it and sell it for half the price. So what did you do to protect yourself from the beginning so that that didn't happen?
Yeah, basically, the first thing I did is I filed what is called a provisional patent. And a provisional patent basically gives you about 12 months to be able to work on your design or your product while being somewhat protected by a temporary patent. And so it gives you 12 months to be able to work on it. And then after you've kind of worked out some of the kinks and the logistics, then you can file your non provisional patent. And this is the one that can take years to even get issued once it has gone through. And that one can last, I think it's like 20 to 25 years after you've been issued the patent. And so after that first initial year when I had the idea, I had then filed for the non provisional patent. And let me tell you, working with a patent attorney can cost thousands and thousands of dollars. And it's really hard again to figure out what the right direction is that you want to take with it. But after that is filed, it can sit at the US Patent Office for up to a year. And basically, at that point, then they can decide whether to approve it or deny it. And in my case, they denied it the first round. And so, what that usually means is then it's kicked back to the patent attorney. We have to make revisions. We could add in different claims or whatever it might need to look like. And then you refile again. And so, you're paying more money to refile it again with the US Patent Office. And then it could sit there again for another year before it's either approved or denied again. And so that's where we're at right now, is it's still pending at the US Patent Office. And so we don't know for sure whether or not it will go through. But in order to protect yourself, once you have that filed with the US Patent Office, you are considered patent pending. So when it's pending, that means nobody can touch you. You're protected in that essence to be able to launch your product and bring it onto the market. So sometimes if you buy a product and you look at the packaging, or if you see on Shark Tank or something like that, they'll mark their packaging that says patent pending and have like the patent office number. So that way people can actually look it up and see what the status is of that. But that's the best way to protect yourself in this process, and just pray that it goes through.
Yeah, I've seen that patent pending before. So that was interesting to have like the full circle as to like this is what that actually means. So is that patent just US based or is it global based?
It is US based. If you are looking at doing an international patent, I mean, you will be spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it will take years and years and years for that to happen. A lot of times you need like a whole team of attorneys just to make something like that happen.
And that's kind of the case. Is it really worth it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because at the end of the day, if somebody from China is going to steal your idea and manufacture it cheaper and produce it and sell it, it's almost near impossible to do anything about it because, you're not really going to sue China. So it's very, very difficult, and you need to have some really good attorneys to be able to protect a patentable idea.
Yeah, and that's kind of where my brain was going on that one. It's like, well, China likes to take whatever they want to and recreate it. So if it's like a global patent, then they can't do that. But like you said, who can take on China?
Yes. Yeah. It's really tough, and you just have to be very careful about who you decide to work with and who you partner with for manufacturing too.
Right, for sure. So before I do any interview, I always dive onto people's websites. I look at their socials and just try to get a feel of the business. And while looking at yours, I could tell that you're very eco-friendly, that making sure that your product is something that is like not going to have to just go into the landfill was like super important to you. So can you tell me a little bit more like how that played into it and like what your heart tells you when it comes to like being eco-friendly and everything?
Yeah, when I was painting all the time and I was going through all those plastic liners, I am not kidding when I say that I looked over at my garbage can and it was filled with plastic liners, and I was just like, this is not sustainable. Like this bothers me. And it made me wonder like how many more people in the world are doing the same exact thing that I am, and how much that is contributing to our landfills. And that's when I started to do a lot more research to see what was the rate or the percentage of home improvement waste that was going into landfills. And it's staggering. I mean, it's insane the amount of home improvement waste is going into landfills, especially with the increase in DIY and home improvement projects just in the last few years. And so I just wanted to figure out like if there was a way that I could just change one little piece of the puzzle to be able to make something that was reusable, but also durable and convenient for people to use, regardless of whether you're a homeowner or a business owner or a stay-at-home mom, that it could kind of fit all those needs. But I also wanted to just make sure that it was going to have a full life cycle, because I didn't want to just create one solution and say, okay, cool, it's reusable, but then what do you do if it breaks, if it tears, or if for some reason it hits the end of its life cycle? What do you do with it then? Because you don't want that to still go into the landfills, because then you're also not entirely fixing the problem. And so I found a silicone recycling company that I decided to partner with. And there we have a recycling program. So if anybody damages their paint tray liner or lid, they can contact us, and we will have it shipped back to us at our cost. And then we send it to the recycling facility where they're able to melt down the silicone, and then it is made into rubber surfacing for inclusive playgrounds for children with disabilities. So that way it comes just like full circle, because it's not ending up in the landfills, and it's also going towards something good in this world.
Oh, for sure. I love that you, one, came up with the product that's eco-friendly and it's reusable, but then you took it the step further. Like, hey, I really don't want this product to go into the landfill. Like, that's amazing. You did an amazing job with that. So, one thing that I've noticed is, and you've kind of touched on it, DIY culture is blowing up right now. Like, everybody wants to take on these home improvement projects and everybody wants to try to do it themselves. Sometimes it works out really good, sometimes it does not. I've had some that have not worked out very good myself. But what have you done to kind of like do like any collaborations, or have you got a hold of influencers or certain companies that specialize in DIY and got your product into their hands or anything like that?
Yeah, actually, when I still just had the idea of the repaint tray and I hadn't officially launched it, I was just kind of in the beginning phases of manufacturing. I just threw it on my social media and just said, hey, tag your favorite DIYer or your favorite DIY influencer, and let's get a list rolling and see who wants a tray when they come out, because I'm going to need help getting the word out. And the easiest way for me to do that is to partner with people that love DIY and want to share and use the product. And so that list ended up growing insanely fast. I ended up getting over 50 people that signed up within 24 hours. And so I had influencers that were already ready to go by the time that my product was going to launch. And since then, I've actually had to start an affiliate program on my website, because I was getting so many people reaching out for collaborations or wanting to be able to promote the tray, which is really exciting. Like, I love seeing that people genuinely love the product and want to use it and promote it. And so since then, the influencer list that I have is grown exponentially. I mean, I probably have over 100 influencers right now that are sharing about the repaint tray and getting the word out there. So that's really exciting to watch and just watch it grow.
Oh yeah, that's amazing. Well, and that's such a that process of advertisement and marketing didn't even exist 10 years ago. So it's so cool that, we can take that now, use somebody else's platform to benefit our business. And in your case, there are so many different people that are influencer type people when it comes to the DIYer. So yeah, why not use them and let them help you sell your product?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I love to talk about social media. It's such a big part of any business anymore. And like you said, that social media helped you to get a whole bunch of influencers to get your product pushed out to begin with. So, what do you do on social media to help promote your business?
The biggest thing is video. And I think that's really tough nowadays, because it takes so much time. There's so much time and effort that goes into making videos and editing it and catching people's attention right away. So that way they're not going to just, immediately scroll on to the next video. And so my background and degree is actually marketing and advertising. And so that's been super helpful in this process. But I also feel like it's a curse sometimes, because I'm just like picking apart, okay, how am I going to reach these people in the right way and influence them, so to speak, to purchase this product? And video is definitely the strongest, because you're going to be able to reach a wider audience. And TikTok, I mean, has been fantastic for that. And it is so tough getting into TikTok and being able to essentially get through their algorithm to get to the right people. But I think staying consistent is hard, but it's worth it. It is so worth it. And at the beginning, it's so hard to stay consistent because you're like not getting views, you're not getting traction, you might not be getting the right people, you might get a few comments here and there. But once you figure out that rhythm and you push through that and you're able to keep up with that content every single day, I mean, it's like this snowball effect. And last night, for example, it took me an hour and I'm still not done. It took me an hour just trying to respond to some TikTok comments and stuff, which is exciting, but also exhausting at the same time. So, with social media, I mean, if you have somebody that can help you stay consistent and come up with a plan, it helps so much.
Oh, it does. It's funny that you say that about TikTok because I created my original account, I don't know, like in 2021 probably, and that one like instantly took off. And with this new business, I created a TikTok for this account and I'm just like, I don't remember it being this hard to grow my first TikTok account. So I'm glad that I'm not the only one that thinks that way. But speaking of TikTok, I've noticed that you do a lot of reply videos.
Yes, that's just recently, like in the last 2 weeks, I wanna say, because all of a sudden I had like 1 or 2 videos that decided to take off, and I was like super pumped about it. But then it prompted so many questions from people. They're like, "Well, what about this? Have you thought about this? Are you going to do this?" And that made it easier for creating content because then it's also linked into the previous video's comments. And so that way they see it right away. If they've seen the old video, they can click on the new one. And then if they're new, they might see it across their For You page or if they click on your profile. And so replying to those comments have actually been super helpful for generating views. But at the same time, it's also generating more questions. And so it's like, it's a love hate relationship. It makes it easy for creating content, but it takes time. And then sometimes you get away from creating that original content. But at the same time, if it's working, stick with it.
Right, for sure. Well, and the other thing is I feel like it helps clear up some questions or clarify. The one that I think I saw when I was looking last night was somebody was like $40 for a paint tray, and you're like, "Girl, it's really not that much when you think about how many paint trays you're gonna use." So that's the other part. It's like it's a little easier to explain as to why things are the way they are.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So you have this product and it's definitely a product that will do amazing in big box stores. So, have you started the process to try to get into big box stores? Are you in one or more than one already?
Yes and no. So back in, let's see, last fall of 2023, I entered a pitch competition with Lowe's Home Improvement, and it's called Lowe's Into the Blue. And I think it's a fantastic way for inventors and new vendors to get in with retailers like Lowe's because it essentially opens up this 1 day event for people to come and pitch their product like you would on Shark Tank, essentially, and there they can decide whether or not to purchase your product and put it in their stores or put it online. And so I had applied for this pitch competition. It was an online application. I had to send in a video. And there they decided whether or not you would get to come to the in person pitch competition. And so luckily I got accepted to go to the in person one in December. I went and pitched, and it's like a golden ticket type opportunity. So if you make it to a certain level, you get a golden ticket, which means they are going to put in a purchase order to put your product in stores and online. And so I got the golden ticket, which was fantastic. And I also found out that I made it, or that I ended up being the highest purchase order from the paint category. And so that was really, really exciting to be able to have that and just have that opportunity to get in front of retail, especially before I had even launched my product. That is pretty unheard of, is being able to get in front of a retailer before you have even launched your product. And they typically like to see that you've had some sales or you've been in other local retailers to kind of see what the response might be before they would take you on. And let's just say working with retail is a long process. I did not realize how in depth it was until I started to get there. And I mean, the amount of information you need to have prepared ahead of time, let alone like understanding the jargon that they use in merchandising, is just overboard in my opinion, but it's been such a learning process, and I've been still working on getting them with Home Depot and Menards as well, but I'm just also kind of trying to take it slow because I also don't want to have to potentially pull back if I'm growing too fast and I'm not able to kind of manage it all at the same time.
Right. So when can we look for your product in Lowe's?
I don't know. That's part of the process is, I've been doing all the onboarding, we have yet to have official launch dates. So, I know it will be on Lowe's.com, sooner rather than later. However, on their shelves in the store will probably be sometime this summer or fall.
Oh, so not too far out then.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And also, I want to say, like, how amazing of you to go into this competition and like kick ass and take names and come out with like the big gold star. So that's amazing. So amazing.
Thank you. Thanks.
So, another thing that I saw when I was looking through your Facebook was you are a 100% woman owned business and you went after being a certified woman owned business. So, this is a certification that is new to me. I had never heard about that. So, why was it important for you to be a WBE certified business and what was the process like?
So, becoming a certified woman owned business is insanely extensive. The application could take months, and you need to have so much documentation proving that you are a sole owner or sole woman owner of your company. And in most retailers like to see that you're woman owned. It helps for some tax purposes, but it also shows kind of their demographics on who they're partnering with, whether you're small business, veteran owned, yada yada. And so in this case, since I knew I was going to the Lowe's competition, I really wanted to become women owned certified business. And so, in order to even start that application or actually do it correctly, you need to hire somebody to do the application for you. That's how extensive it is. And it could cost thousands of dollars just to do the application by itself. And so I started that application, I want to say back in October. And so just recently I was issued that certification. And so there's two separate versions of that certification. There is a women owned small business, and then there is a women business enterprise. And so I was issued the women business enterprise, which is I was honestly shocked to receive that because I thought I was applying for the women owned small business. And then I got this notification that they're like, "Hey, you're a women business enterprise." I was like, "Cool, I have an enterprise." Like don't know what that means, but perfect. So this also grants you the ability to use the woman owned logo on all of your packaging. So that way, retailers can show again who they're partnering with as far as woman owned or veteran owned or whoever it may be. But also, then consumers can see that label and see that they're helping support a small business or a woman owned business or so forth. So it just creates this other level of identification that people know who they're supporting when they're purchasing those products.
As to like at least with your retailers having more women-owned businesses in their stores and whatnot. But that's cool that you got the enterprise. Like this just seems to be like everything that's happened was meant to be, and it just keeps snowballing and getting better and better and better.
Yes, for sure.
So your packaging, you kind of touched on it that you can use their logo on your packaging, but I want to talk about your packaging in general because one, it's lime green, which goes very well with your eco-friendly idea product that you have. But the other thing is my favorite part of it is in the corner, you've got your little bee for Billy. And that was like the best touch on the whole thing, in my personal opinion.
Thank you. That wasn't even my idea.
Oh, it wasn't?
No, it was my business partners. They thought I should put, my signature on it. So I was like, "Yeah, okay, we can do that." And I think I spent hours just trying to figure out how I could sign the letter B, like, for just I wanted to make it look good, so I spent hours with a Sharpie just writing on a bunch of pieces of paper. I'm like, "I don't know if I'm gonna do this."
That's funny. So, what was your thought process when you were coming up with the branding, with how the packaging was going to look?
So when I was kind of coming up with the packaging and the logo and the branding with all of it, I wanted it to align with the eco-friendly side of things. And also from a branding standpoint, I wanted to look at what was already on the shelf. And when you're looking at products that are on the shelf, especially in the paint department, it's either red, blue, or black. That is pretty much the typical colors that you're going to see. And so I wanted to create something that was also going to stand out and kind of pop, and it's going to catch somebody's eye and they want to look at it. And so green was kind of just that natural color. I realized there was not many other paint products or paint industries or businesses that have color or have green as their signature color. Frog tape is really one of the only other ones that I could think of that is kind of that signature green. So if you're from Frog Tape and you're listening to this, hit me up because I want to do a partnership. But green was kind of like the go-to with the eco-friendly side of things, and I created the logo and all the I partnered with a graphic designer to come up with the sleeve packaging that goes around it. And I did not realize this until I got into that actual process, is being able to fully protect the packaging or fully protect the product when it comes to shipping and what's it going to look like on the shelf. And then each retailer has probably their own requirements when it comes to the packaging itself and barcode placement. I mean, there's so many things that go into the detail of the packaging itself, but I think it's finally there, and we only have to make like one or two revisions for the next round of inventory.
That's good. So when you were coming up with the packaging, was there any like eco-friendly things that you kept in mind when you were doing the packaging?
I mean, with the packaging itself, I wanted to make sure that again, it could be recyclable if people wanted to throw it in the recycling bin. So the paper sleeve that is around it is recyclable, and that can be tossed in the recycling bin as well.
So I like to call it my crying in the closet moment when my business has just like kicked my butt. And I am wondering why I started this. What am I going to do? Was this the biggest mistake of my life? So I want to know if you've ever had an experience like that.
1000%, several times. I think if you are a business owner and you have not had that moment, then I tell me your secrets because I want to know. I think there
Right?
has been so many times that I've had that moment where I'm just bawling on the floor like, what am I doing? Is this really truly worth this? Because in this area of business with manufacturing, is it's insanely expensive. And so it's so high risk because you are putting everything that you have into it. For me to even create the tooling or the mold just to make the product cost me over $35,000.
Holy
And then in
cow.
order for me to just order my first round of inventory to get to people that had pre-ordered or have are ordering now, it cost me over $65,000. And so there has not to mention the patent attorney fees. That cost me another $25,000. And all of this has come pretty much out of my own pocket of selling stuff on Facebook Marketplace and just living very frugally. I pulled out my 401k, which some people would be like, "Hey, don't do that," but I needed to figure out a way to make this happen. I took out some small business loans, and it's such high risk that is involved with a lot of this that there's been just many times that I sat there thinking like, there's so much involved and so much at risk. Like, do I really want to do this? Is this truly going to be worth it in the end? And I think looking back on some of those moments, I want to say yes. And it's still hard. It's still a growing and learning process. There's still a lot at risk because now my second round of inventory is going to be over $270,000, which is a scary number to see on an invoice. And trying to figure out how that's going to work is insane. And I'm still working through some of those processes. And you just question yourself, is this going to be worth it? But I think at the end of the day, if you're listening to your gut and you're like, yeah, this is going to be worth it, and I still feel confident moving forward, then I think it's worth it and you're moving in the right direction.
Well, and I appreciate you being like transparent with numbers in that all because some people like to minimize the cost and keep the numbers a secret. And I feel like when you get the full picture, like just in the numbers that you threw out at me, like you're over $300,000 into this business. So
Yeah.
there's a lot at risk on here to make sure that everything goes right and that it is a successful product.
Oh, absolutely, and I have to consider that it's not just me that's at risk too, it's my family that I'm putting into risk here, and thankfully, my husband has been insanely supportive over all of this, and he has supported me for the last 3 years being the sole income, and that's been great because if we did not have that, I don't know if I would have been able to make this work, and not to mention, like, my parents and my in-laws have both helped financially, and so they are also putting themselves at risk by giving me, finances to help fund some of this because they very well know that there could be the potential that something could go south and that I may not be able to pay them back, or it's gonna take a long time for me to pay them back.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what was like the biggest like aha moment, or I had no idea that things were done this way when you were in the process of trying to get your product into Lowe's or just like creating the product in general?
I think it would actually be after I got in with Lowe's, because after I got in with Lowe's and I started their onboarding process, it is so in depth. There is so much that I did not know that I needed to know. And again, with the acronyms for everything
I
and
hate
understanding the
acronyms.
oh, I
Hate
know.
them.
Same. Like just say the word, please.
I agree.
But it's so in depth with all the information that they're looking for, and you need to know you have to meet these requirements and exact dimensions for your shipping packaging and boxes and how it's going to fit on a pallet and in a semi and on a shipping container and maybe in a train. And I'm like, I don't know, I don't know these things. Like, give me a tape measure and a train and let me go measure. And so there's just all these things you have to know and figure out and learn at the same time while you're doing it, and just have to trust that as you're communicating with them that you're saying the right thing and that nothing is screwed up in the process. But that, I would say, has been like the biggest thing is just recently in the last few months.
Definitely. That's not something I ever would have thought of. But yes, all your products do probably have to go on a plastic wrapped pallet that can go in a shipping container, a semi, or a train car.
Yeah.
Yeah. So many different ways to transport your product. Ugh, that's crazy. So, what do you think is like the biggest problem or struggle that your industry as a whole is facing right now?
I would say a couple things. From a painting industry standpoint, it's the eco-friendly side of things. There are very, very few products, if any, really, in the painting industry that are geared towards eco-friendliness or reducing waste or being reusable. And I think that is something that really needs to change because it is so wasteful that we're going through hundreds of thousands of plastic paint tray liners every single year just from the average homeowner. That doesn't include DIYers or potential painting contractors that are using them more frequently. Not to mention the amount of paint brushes and rollers that are ending up in landfills after they're being used because they dried out and we just didn't have time to wash them or whatever it is. And that's something that I think really, really needs to change and be looked at a lot more in depth, and not just from a small business like me that's striving for change. Like, these big companies need to start paying attention to that and realizing that consumers are asking for more eco friendly products and more durable products that can last a lot longer. So it's being able to listen to your consumer and adjusting and meeting those needs while also realizing the damage that we're doing to our environments. But the second part of the industry I think would be the manufacturing side of things that I'm also in. Is it is an male dominated industry to its core, and there needs to be more women in manufacturing. There has to be. And there's so many different areas of manufacturing that you can be in, but it's creating space for women to be in those and allowing them the ability to grow and speak up and have the power to make some of those decisions, because when women are not in manufacturing or not in those spaces, it makes it hard for people like me or other women entrepreneurs and inventors to actually get in the door, because people simply don't listen to us. That's happened to me so many times where I've had people not give me the time of day or say some really rude one off comments about me being a mom or me being a woman because I'm in manufacturing trying to create a product that I want and I need. And I want to help other people achieve some of the same things that I've been able to achieve. So there definitely needs to be a change in that side of the industry as well.
100% preach, mic drop. You just nailed that one. right there. Like, I don't need my husband to come and have these conversations for me because guess what? This is my deal. So, if anybody in the manufacturing industry is listening, let some women in the door, please.
Yes.
So, I have to ask, you just told me that the painting industry as a whole is not very eco-friendly. So, are you potentially maybe brewing any ideas that will change that besides the repaint tray?
Oh yeah. I have lots of ideas and I want to get started on them sooner rather than later, but like I mentioned with the numbers, it's so expensive for me to just whip out another product. So I do want to create more products down the road. It's just a matter of finding another partner or another really good investor that's willing to put in the capital to help me expand and grow.
So, we need to keep an eye on your business and see what you come up with next. That's for sure. So, I'll always like to kinda end the interviews with the same question. If you could go back in time and give yourself some advice, whether that be when you're starting this journey, whether that be when you launched about a year ago, what would you tell yourself?
I would tell myself that you have the power to say no. I think when I started out, and I was talking with people and some people walked in the door, they would say, I have this to offer and I have this service and this and this and this. And I think there was always part of me that wanted to say yes to help them, quote unquote, or give them a chance. But at the end of the day, I think you have to realize what truly aligns with your business or your passions. And if you just have that off gut feeling about working with somebody or it just doesn't seem right, you can say no. And I think that was hard for me in the beginning. But as I've gotten further and further in this process and more people reaching out, it's gotten easier for me to say no and really kind of sift through who are going to be the right people for me to work with and partner with. So, yes, give yourself permission to say no to people.
I have that same problem to where we get asked if we have any job openings and I want to give everybody a job. Like I want everybody to have a job here, whether I have a place for you or not. My husband is like, "Haley, we can't hire everyone." And I'm like, "You are right. We cannot." But I get that. I have that same problem. So you had a goal and that was to ship a tray to every single state in the United States. How close are you to that goal?
I'm so freaking close. I have 3 states left that need a repaint tray. So, if you're in Wyoming, get
Oh,
on it.
I think we can help you out with that one.
Oh, okay. Oh, good. Okay, so Wyoming, New Mexico, and Louisiana are the last 3 states that I need to purchase a repaint tray, and then my massive goal of having a repaint tray in all 50 states will be fulfilled.
And the whole United States will be colored in.
Yes, I have a map literally that I stare at right now, and I have a green Sharpie, and anytime somebody orders a tray from one of those states that I have not had a purchase from, I, like, immediately take it down and color it in.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm like, that's such a cool goal anyways, is because like, I want this in every single state, and then it gets exposed to more people, and it's awesome. I know at least a lot of people in, like, the boutique retail world where I used to have a business did the same thing, trying to get to all 50 states. So I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to sit down, talk with me, talk about Repaint Studios, talk about your mission, and be real and authentic with everything from the process to the numbers, everything. So all of your links will be down below in the show notes along with your website. But can you take a minute to tell everybody where they can find you at so people from New Mexico, Wyoming, and Louisiana can go buy your product?
Yes. Yes. Well, first of all, if you wanna buy it, you can go to our website, which is repaintstudios.com. Otherwise, Instagram and TikTok are probably my most, posted platforms. So, Instagram is repaint_tray, and TikTok, I am the repaint lady. So go check those out, interact with the videos because that definitely helps, small businesses for sure.
Make sure you go check out the product, add to cart, get it shipped to yourself, and follow along for this business because it is doing some amazing things. Thank you so much, Billy, for sitting down with me again. And yeah, Repaint Studios, everybody.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Guys, that was an amazing episode. I so appreciate how Billie was true and authentic and didn't hide anything. She shared all the details with us, and how inspirational that a woman can do all of them things, and such good insight on all of it. Like, I loved it, and you better believe that I will be buying one of the paint trays, and I will definitely post it on my stories and show everybody how it works and how much I love it. So be looking for that. That is all that I have for today's episode, and thank you for joining me. If you would like to watch the video version, you can find it on YouTube under Brassy Business Podcast, or the link is below in the comments. Make sure to follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and look us up on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok under Brassy Business Podcast so we can stay in touch. Have a great day, and I will see you next week. Brassy Business Podcast is a Black Cows production.